Once you've been stacking up a lot of metal dated 1916, you might start moving into different kinds of metal instead of just gold and silver. All this is dated 1916, and these are all German metals. This is all just coins from around the world that are silver that are dated 1916 or the equivalent in whatever their native numbering system is. For instance, this is Turkey, and in the Islamic calendar it was year 1334 to 1335. There were other annual systems used by other countries. Somewhere in here there's some Thailand baht, and I don't know what year they were in, but it was something like 2,400 and something in the Buddhist era. But most of these are just dated 1916, especially the US. Barber quarters, half dollars. And of course, it was in the middle of World War I, not yet for the US, who was not participating, but especially for Germany, they were definitely participating. And a lot of these medals feature their generals, chancellor, and some of their famous pilots too, like Oswald Bulke, and of course Max Immelmann, who was shot down and killed that year, 1916. This medal is actually from Italy, celebrating their 8th Eritrean Battalion. And this, of course, is the Pope, Benedict XV, issued by the Vatican. This is just a standard mark, German silver mark. That same year, of course, Germany was also issuing 1916 dated P-08 pistols manufactured by the Deutsche Waffen Munitionsfabrikant Company, DWM. And these were all commonly referred to as Lugers, from George Luger, who developed the 9mm cartridge, which was soon to become the most popular cartridge, I think, maybe after 22 in the world, even today. And so even Kamala's Glock most likely is chambered in 9mm. And this P-08, manufactured in 1916, will fire modern 9mm Luger rounds. Now, they were also manufacturing, and here we are stacking. Also the same year, DWM was manufacturing P-08s. I think we'd still call it a Luger, but this one, as you can see, has got a thinner and longer barrel because it's chambered in 30 caliber. It's got the identical diameter at the bottom, but the actual projectile here, you can see the neck pinches in a little bit. It's a smaller projectile than the standard 9mm. So I believe you can fire these out of a 9mm, but you can't fire a regular 9mm out of this. And these are a lot more expensive because really nobody uses these anymore. It's like a vintage ammo. Both of these were manufactured in the same factory, in the same year, for the same war, for the same guys. And in the spirit of stacking, we can stack them. I don't know what the cost was to manufacture one of these in German marks in the year 1916, unfortunately. The best information I can get, which isn't that good, is that in 1943, so more than 25 years later, after the mark was long dead and they'd gone through Weimar inflation, and then it was the Third Reich embroiled in the Second World War pretty deep, to manufacture a P-08 that year cost the equivalent in Deutsche Marks of 77 euros in 2022 money. So I don't know how to figure all that out backwards, but let's just say that 77 euros would be the equivalent of melting down about about 18 to 20 of these marks. These marks are pretty close to a quarter of the actual silver weight, US quarter, US silver quarter. So, what's that come out to? Again, 77 euros sounds quite low. Maybe we'll call it 20, 25 quarters. Just over $100 and something to manufacture one of these. Now, also manufactured in 1916 over in the USA by Colt, everyone's favorite, were these police positive 38 pistols. These weren't just available to the police, and they weren't for the war, because actually in the same year, Colt made the Colt Army Special, which I don't have one. But these were available to civilians also. They were sold for retail for $14. We can find the advertisements where these were for sale to the general public through newspapers and probably at Ward's and Sears and Marshall Field's for 14 United States dollars. So that's a little easier to figure out, because we know that you would just have to take if we can find a $50 here, 28 of these. 28 of these, and you get yourself a brand new Colt 38, police positive. If you melt that all down, that comes out to more than $300 US. Today is October 19th. So silver just went up $2 yesterday. But even forgetting about that, it's somewhere in the mid to higher $300 range. And that's what it costs to get a used, messed up one of these 108 years later. When I say messed up, I just mean the finish isn't good and it's got a lot of pitting. But actually, I have fired this and no problems. It's a small, accurate, easy to fire weapon. And it's actually meant, just like the Lugers, to be fired one-handed. Of course, you're going to have better luck using both hands on both of them, but these were designed with the intent that someone would be able to fire one-handed. You see the insignia. And the reason we know it's manufactured in 1916 is because the serial number can be looked up on the Colt website, and it'll tell you that this make of pistol with that serial number was manufactured in 1916. Now 38 is not the same as 38 Special. This is 38. It's also called 38 Short, 38 Smith & Wesson. And it's short because it's short. This is 38 Special. And these, just like the 30 caliber, have the exact same diameter at the base as the more common ammunition, but in this case the projectile is also the same diameter, but it's just a shorter cartridge, and you wouldn't be able to even fit the 38 Special into the cylinder on these 38 revolvers. On the other hand, you can take the 38 Short and you can put it in a modern 38 Special, you can put it in a modern Magnum and fire it no problem. Both of these are expensive ammunition because no one really uses them anymore. This Colt has the original rubber grip, which looks great after all these years. The metal has turned out to look a lot worse. So when you're collecting everything dated 1916 that's metal, you don't have to stop once you got the silver and you got the gold. Here's the tie bot I was talking about. And of course, even once you've gotten the steel, you can start getting the brass. Now, none of this ammunition, of course, is made in 1916, but you could find ammunition in its original box. Probably have to pay a lot for it. Manufactured in 1916. All these years later, the silver and gold looks a lot better than the steel, though.